Hello and welcome to Week 9 of the Coach Hughes Show. As always, I'm joined by MSU Beavers football head coach Tyler Hughes. Coach, you had a tough game against MSU Moorhead last week, but you preached to your team all season long to play a complete game. Did you feel like your team played a complete 60 minutes?
Well, I think we played really well for three quarters. I don't think we played our best ball in the fourth quarter. We had some breakdowns on things. They made a few good plays in the fourth, and we just didn't make enough, and you get that's when it really counts, is that fourth quarter, especially in a tight game. So we could do better, but I think, like I said, through three quarters they played pretty solid ball. We just got to do it through four.
What was going on in the fourth quarter? Do you think that troubled your team?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything specifically. It's just. We had some assignment errors in the fourth quarter that cost us. We just have to just make sure that we understand that at that moment, that's when it's big time critical, and every little thing is like accentuated in the fourth quarter. So, and to Moorhead's credit, they played very well in that fourth quarter, and so we just gotta continue to work on finishing and preaching what that means and how to do it, and then go out and do it.
At quarterback, you guys have been mixing a few guys in. You seem to have found your starting quarterback with Jose Escobar. It's his second straight game without an interception, and he's thrown 4 touchdowns in those games. And then this week, you mixed in Isaiah Weed on some run packages, and he threw a touchdown and had a pretty big run, 14-yard gain, I think. Are you planning on mixing him in, those two guys, going forward, or what's the plan there at quarterback?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Jose is our starter, and so he'll get the majority of reps, but we will have some packages for Isaiah as we go forward. I mean, he showed that he's capable of doing them. He had a couple of nice throws and nice runs, so we'll keep going with him.
This upcoming game against Bemidji State will be the last home game of the season. It'll be senior day there. Group of seniors pretty big for your team right now. I think like all 4 of your starting defensive backs, your number 1 wide receiver, leading guy Aaron James on defense had 16 tackles last week. Pretty big game for him. What's it like as a college coach to lose that group of seniors every single year, and then specifically this season, what does this group of seniors mean to you and your team?
Well, I've been here for a year and a half, and so these senior kids have been kids that I've really relied on in the time that I've been here, in a variety of ways, on and off the field. And we talked about them this morning in our staff meeting, that we wanted to have a strong week for them in practice, a special week for them as seniors, and a special senior day. And so there's a number of them that are great guys and really good players, and the season has not gone the way that they would have liked it to, which I'm disappointed for, because they deserve some good things, and we hope that this weekend will be one of those good things that they deserve, because they've worked very hard. And the thing I like about this senior group is a bunch of them have been through Minot State University through some challenging times, through football challenges, off the field challenges, a variety of things, and they've stuck it out, and that staying power and that determination and perseverance is really commendable and deserves everybody's respect. And so given that, we like to have a special senior week and senior game this weekend coming up. Want our kids to feel good about themselves.
You said, you've only been here a year and a half. So this group of seniors has really had to latch onto your teaching right away, and you've had to probably learn from them too at the same time, coming in fresh. What's been their response to you coming in as a new coach and latching onto your teachings and teaching the younger kids as well?
Yeah, I think that the guys have gotten better and better of following direction and instruction, in all ways. It's not always perfect. Nothing ever is. Everything's a learning process, but I don't ever feel like the guys aren't trying to put their best foot forward and trying to do what's being asked of them by myself or our assistant coaches or anybody at the university for that matter. I think they really do try, and there's things, again, we could always be better with, but I like the senior group. I think they're good guys.
Bemidji State coming up, as I mentioned, another good NSIC offense coming in here. Last week you were able to get some pressure, 12 tackles for a loss, 6 sacks. How are you going to continue getting that upfront pressure this week going in?
Well, to the guys' credit, they really had an aggressive pass rush. I mean, that was one of the first things that they had to do. I felt like we hadn't closed at the quarterback as well as we should have in previous weeks. You know, we'd get there and miss. And this week we got home and wrapped up the quarterback and finished the play. So that's a big part of it is the finishing element at the quarterback, and that's something they got to continue to do. We got to continue to find ways to get guys freed up and get into one-on-one situations. That's always a goal, in your pass rush. And then again, they got to finish at the quarterback. So that's what we'll continue, to do schematically and to emphasize on the field fundamentally with our players.
On their side of the defensive side, they have a pretty good linebacker, kind of like Aaron James. He kind of leads their team in tackles, kind of all over the place, all over every play. On the offensive side, do you guys target those guys, or obviously you know where they are on the field at all times, but do you make sure you target those guys, or do you just run your plays as you always run them?
When I was a high school player, I had a coach that talked about, and he had coached collegiately, and he had talked about how in the high school game, it's like all schemes. You're just working on schemes, and there's a little bit of like personnel evaluation, but for the most part, you're just coaching your scheme and trying to be at your best. And then the college level, it's more of like a mixed bag, and then the professional level, it's all players and matchups. So I say that because, for us, I mean, we want to run what we run, but we're certainly aware of the good players that are out there on the other side of the ball. If it's a good pass rusher, how can we get, 4 hands on him and rather than 2? If it's a tough linebacker, how can we make sure that we don't let him just be free to the ball the whole game? It's a really good cover guy with great ball skills. We're not going to not throw that direction, but we'd be wise to probably look in other areas too. And so we certainly look at that. That's all part of our game plan.
When it comes to something like that, as your offense comes towards the line, they see something in the defensive scheme. Are the offensive linemen talking to each other? Is the quarterback kind of making some calls? What are the adjustments at the line of scrimmage for your team?
We break the huddle, and we got to have a great front identification. Is it 4 down? Is it 3 down? Under front, over front. There's all those elements. And then you have to identify the mic backer, and that's really, that's really kind of like what sets everything in motion, because once you've identified him, like all your calls and checks and adjustments are based on that guy. So that's something that I know I've been working on for years with our quarterbacks, long before I was even here. It's always something that's been a big deal. We're continuing to do it here. It allows our quarterback to really kind of establish the way, things are blocked and protected, and there's a lot of training that goes into that. That mic point is what it's called. And so, we put a lot of work into that. Once he makes that call, then there's all sorts of calls and checks going on, with our O-line and our tight ends, particularly in the run game or in pass protection. Our receivers are looking on the back end, is it middle field open? Is it closed? Where's the rotation coming from? Rotation is like if a safety comes down, to create an 8th guy in the box. So there's all sorts of things that are happening. They refer to it as a chess match, but I think the way the game's played today, it's really like speed chess. Like you have to think very quickly in about 10 seconds and get all your information gathered and make a decision. And so it's a fun game. It's exciting. That way it requires players to think on the move, which I think challenges them and keeps them on their toes week to week.
Have you noticed anything throughout the season or last week? You've had some opportunities, obviously. Have you noticed anything from your team that areas of focus that you need to focus on to be able to win next week's game, areas of improvement?
Yeah, I think we have too many penalties. I think that's a big thing. And we have them at inopportune times. That's something that our players need to be more aware of, and how that can affect an outcome of a game. How it can just affect kind of the morale on the sideline when you have a bad penalty. I think that's something for our players to work on. I think we had a few substitution problems. We had to burn some timeouts that way. That's partly on us as coaches, but that's also on players too, making sure they're getting correct personnel calls from the sideline and making sure they're in tune to that. So there's a few things just in terms of our operation that could be better. I'd like to see us continue to play better at the end of the game. In that fourth quarter, as we talked about earlier, finishing things off. That's something we'll talk about a lot this week. Especially at the back end of practice, and really emphasizing this is like fourth quarter moments right now. So let's finish this the right way. That's something we'll talk about quite a bit.
Well, like I mentioned before, it's the last home game of the season. It's senior day for you guys. Kickoff is at 1:30 against Bemidji State. Come a little early to honor those seniors and cheer hard for them. Thanks.